Ladies and gentlemen, greetings. This is Jared Hines with Entrusted Auctions of Beckley, West Virginia. We are so very proud here this fall to be partnering with our joint venture partner Martha Hilton and Vision Quest Realty in Lewisburg, West Virginia, as we work together with our seller to sell one of the most historic buildings in the state of West Virginia, not to mention Fayette County. We are right now here at the Whipple Coal Company store, formerly known as the Collins Colliery, and we'll get into why it was known as that later. Coal production in the state of West Virginia began in earnest about 1880. Towns grew up around the coal companies because most of the coal companies were far away from the established towns in the state, and so what happened, the coal barons built homes for the tenants and for the miners and their families. They built stores like this one so that the miners and their families could come and buy things from the store and not have to travel miles to the nearest established town. This was one of 4 octagon-shaped constructed buildings that Justice Collins built in this area. It is the only one like it standing today. So you are looking at a piece of Americana, you're looking at a piece of West Virginia history right here in Fayette County. We are in the little unincorporated town of Whipple, hence the name Whipple Company Store. For many years, most of the labor that occurred in the mining industry was not unionized labor. The coal barons and the coal company operators were opposed to increasing wages and were opposed to developing the kind of safety that we know today in our mines. And so they were very resistant to anyone, especially miners, who would come and talk about unionization. And one of the precautionary measures that Justice Collins took with this particular building is he actually went to Bluefield, West Virginia and hired members of the Baldwin Felts Detective Agency to come and be lookouts on this building. And those detectives would actually stand guard, quote unquote, stand guard at this company store and keep an eye and an ear out for any talk of unionization, listen for groups of miners that may be thinking about getting together and forming a union and join the unions. To my knowledge, what the historians tell us is that Justice Collins's coal companies never became unionized because of his diligent efforts to bird dog conversations and stay abreast of the talk around his coal camps. The Baldwin Felts detectives were stationed at 2 different points on the front porch of the company store. I am standing in one right now. The building, by its design and its arched shape and its octagon shape, was quite hard to guard because visibility was difficult. However, if we look back toward the front of the store, we can see that the glass, as a result of the way it was constructed, is actually angled. Therefore, the Baldwin Felts detective standing on this side of the porch at guard could see exactly what was happening behind this wall by looking at the angled glass at the cashier station. And vice versa, the guard on the other side of the porch could look at this angled glass and observe what was happening from that angle as well. So even though they were hidden from public sight, they could almost keep track of anything that was going on outside of this arch by using the glass as a reflective mirror. So we very much want our prospective buyers to understand that you're not just buying a piece of real estate. You're buying a piece of West Virginia and national history. And one of the reasons that we're here today is we wanted to walk you through this building and talk to you about some of the history about it, why it's built like it is, why some of the rooms exist, who some of the people were that worked here, so you could get a sense of exactly the type of building this was, the history that it holds, and understand that this is not merely just a piece of real estate. And we're so blessed to be entrusted to help our seller find a new home and another buyer for this property. So please come with us and enjoy this tour. One of the many employees here at the company store, of course, was the storekeeper. The storekeeper would stand exactly where I'm standing with help from a butcher, a postmaster, and other helpers around the store. Most of the shoppers in the company store were women because the men worked 16 to 20 hours a day most days, and so the women would come here, bring their coal scrip, and purchase items from the company store. Now, the interesting thing about the construction of this building is it was intentionally built in a rotunda arched shape in order to deflect and target sound to particular points in the building. And I'm standing on one of the most important points in the entire building as far as the receipt of sound. The storekeeper would stand here and could hear conversations quite clearly on the front porch as well as in the store based on the construction of the building and how sound would reflect and refract and come back to this very spot. So the storekeeper had two jobs, if you will. Number one was to maintain the store. He had a very good rapport with a lot of the coal miners who were European. He had to understand how to communicate with different ethnicity groups from all over the world because those people were brought in from the Northeast to work in the coal mines here. So the storekeeper had to be able to understand many ethnicities and be able to communicate with those people so that they could get the goods and the services that they wanted out of the store. The second job that the storekeeper had as an employee and close confidant of Justice Collins, who owned the store in the coal company, was to troubleshoot and to keep an ear open and an eye out for any trouble that might be brewing in the community, especially, again, talk of unionization. So as a result of his vantage point of standing in this spot in the Octagon Rotunda, he could be privy to most conversations going on, not only inside the building, but on the front porch as well. And so he was a very important informant to collect information for Justice Collins. Ladies and gentlemen, also available as a part of your purchase packet are the contents of the museum. This is not only a historical company store, it is currently being used and ran as a coal heritage museum. Okay? So as you look around the room and in the many rooms that we're going to take you through today, you'll be able to see that there's a lot of coal history in this building. I'm standing beside one of the pieces of coal history that we've probably all heard of, especially if we're from coal mining country. This was coal scrip. And coal scrip was a form of currency that was used only in the particular company town in which the miners lived. Each company store in each coal mining town had their own form of scrip that was embossed or cut with their particular company store or town's designation. So therefore you could only use it there. And this is one of the best collections of local scrip that I have ever seen in my many, many years of auctioneering right here at the Whipple Company store. And it's one example of the many different types of coal history that this seller has on display here at the building. So as you will see in your bid packet, it is also available for purchase for one lump sum. So as you're looking around this video and you're looking at this beautiful and historical building, be sure also to focus in on some of the historical items, coal-related items that are also in this museum. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the freight room. This was the room where the miners came to buy equipment that they needed to work in the mines. The miners could only come this far into the freight room to this counter. This is the very counter, the original counter from the company store. The freightman would stand behind the counter. The miners would then order things like lunch buckets, helmets, carbide lights, and most importantly, during the early years of coal mining, a canary. There was actually an aviary in the basement of this building where they raised and kept canaries, and it is still here today, although in somewhat disrepair. The aviary is still in the building. The canaries were very important. Before air quality sensors were invented, the canaries were designed to give an indication to the miners as to the quality of the air and the oxygen content in the air in the mines. So yes, miners would come in to buy all sorts of different equipment right here in the freight room, as you see. One of the most unique features of the company store is the original freight elevator. All of the freight and goods that came into the store entered through the lower level or the basement. This elevator is the original freight elevator that was here in the store in 1890, and as you can see on the video, it is fully functional. Okay? What an incredible piece of history for this to still be in place, and we wanted you to see that this is part of the tour and part of what you're going to receive when you purchase this wonderful piece of history, the original freight elevator. Folks, we're now in the grain room. This is the room in which the storekeepers kept all of the grain. The walls in this room tell the story. The walls, the black walls that you see here are metal, I think probably tin. And the science behind this, before electromagnetic pest killers were invented, this was one of the early methods to keep pests down and out of your grain. So the science behind the metal walls is that I believe they gave off an electromagnetic field that somehow scientifically was responsible for keeping the bugs, for lack of a better word, out of your grain. The room is being currently used as a storage room and also as presentation for postcards and letters that the sellers have received from the many different folks that have taken tours here, including many of the children that have come through the building. So they are magnetic, and so all you have to do is take a magnet, post it to the wall, and you have your own testimonial room here from all the different thank you notes and letters that they've received from all the many people that have taken tours. We're now standing in the Paymaster's window at the Bookkeeper's register. This was the area where the miners would come to the window here and exchange their pay envelopes for scrip, which could be used in the company store. Okay? Banks didn't exist until about 1906, and so this was the only source of scrip or cash in the coal mining town. Of course, that was by design by the coal mine operators, such that they could make a profit not only from the mining operations but also from the coal company store as well. So this is where the miners would come, exchange pay for scrip. Welcome to the Bookkeeper's vault. This is where the cash was stored, petty cash here in the till to my left. There was also a safe where the bookkeeper kept his or her guns in case of an emergency. Some of the mining maps were also maintained in this room, and something that we've just learned recently is one of the original maps from the Whipple mine works was found in a secret compartment in the building. So a very important part of the building where most of the funds were kept and where the bookkeeper worked to secure scrip, cash, petty cash, weapons, sometimes even morphine for the local doctors was also kept in the vault as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back outside here at the Whipple Company store. The main mode of transportation in and out of this area was by rail. And the railways demanded that they be paid in bullion in early days of coal mining to avoid all of the hassle that was associated with foreign exchange, as we're told by historians. So gold bullion had to be brought and stored here at the company store, believe it or not. The trains would arrive on the tracks up on the knoll here. The gold bullion would be brought down in sacks off of the bank, and actually brought through this rear door and placed into a special vault, which we're about to show you. And there was a superintendent in this building whose sole job was to maintain the inventory of the gold bullion and track payments to the railway. Folks, we are now looking at the upstairs vault where the gold bullion was stored as it came in off of the railways. The superintendent of the company store, who was in charge with the inventory of the gold bullion, would have his helpers bring the gold in, literally climb a ladder and place the gold bullion into this vault so that they could pay the railways for delivery of the coal to different parts of the country and different parts of the world. One of the most, in my opinion, one of the most unique places in this entire building is this hidden vault. Folks, like we said before, the company store was designed to be the focal point of the community and a place where the miners and their families could do anything they needed to do, including mail a letter or receive mail. This is the original Whipple post office postal window that was installed here in the 1890s when the store was built. And as you can see, it's basically in the same shape and design as it was in at that time. This was a fully functional post office until the mid-1950s when it finally shut down. So a unique piece of local history here, the Whipple post office. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in the most original part of this entire building. This is our second floor ballroom. Justice Collins' wife's name was Lucy Collins. Of course, she was a debutante and was accustomed to the finer things. They actually lived in Bramwell, West Virginia on Millionaires Row, was where they made their home. But when Lucy and Justice would travel to Whipple, this was where she spent most of her time. This room was actually designed by Lucy for the purpose of being a place where she could relax and entertain her friends. They had dances here, cotillions here. You can see behind me there was a ladies' dressing room where they applied their corsets and ballroom gowns and those types of things, and a gentleman's room to my right where the gentlemen would relax and sip a cognac and smoke a cigarette before they came out to dance at the ballroom. So again, one of the most unique pieces of the whole property, and as the seller tells us, the most original room, totally untouched in the whole entire building. Another special thing that you want to understand too, as part of the unique construction of this octagon structure, and especially this room is actually suspended from trusses that run across the ceiling. And although we can't see them, that is the purpose for the poles that run through the center of the room. The room is actually not connected to the walls of the main structure. It is suspended construction from the trusses, much akin to the way that the New River Gorge Bridge was constructed in Fayetteville. If you're familiar with that construction and the W-style trusses that run through that bridge, the inspiration for that, one of the inspirations for the construction of that bridge was actually this building and the way it was built. So again, what a great room here, wonderful piece of history. Folks, we hope you enjoyed this tour of one of the most historical buildings in the state of West Virginia, a true American landmark that is actually on the National Registry of Historical Places, the Whipple Coal Company store here in Whipple, West Virginia in Fayette County. This property will be offered through a sealed bid auction that we will open on October the 18th right here on site at the Whipple Company store. We have a bid packet ready for you to look at if you're interested in becoming the new owner of this piece of American history. If you'd like a bid packet, please call Martha Hilton at Vision Quest Realty at 304-667-7060 or email Martha at agentwv@mountain.net. That's agentwv@mountain.net. This has been Jared Hines with Entrusted Auctions, proud to be partnering with Vision Quest Realty on the sale of this one-of-a-kind property. Thank you so much.